end is come, and only evil, behold, is come. Who changed God's name? Approaching doom and the great deception, by Norbert H. pages 19 through 32. The cipher, recorded in advance. The Bible Code has recorded virtually every major incident and important historical event since the beginning of time, all written and recorded before they happened. The September 11th terrorist attack on New York is accurately recorded in great detail. Another devastating tragedy is recorded for New York. If it is accurate, like the other entries, it may prove to be the worst human suffrage since the Great Flood. It could conceivably be a destruction from which the land will never recover. The damage may be irreparable. The Bible codes are warning us. What are the Bible codes? The Bible code is a scientific analysis of the Hebrew text of the Bible. When each letter is placed in a grid, the matrix becomes a crossword puzzle, a word search with words and phrases interlocking in all directions, right, left, up, down, and diagonally. The scientific principle, which is incorporated into the Bible code, is what cryptographers refer to as equidistant letter sequences, ELS. It simply means that each letter in a code is an equal distance from its preceding letter. So if a code is on a 5-letter skip, every 5th letter is part of the code, which spells out a word or phrase or sentence. The Bible code phenomenon has been known of for many centuries. Both ancient and modern scholars have worked with it meticulously, counting out hundreds of letters by hand to find the hidden messages that are encoded within the Hebrew text. It is only in modern times, since the 1980s, that researchers have begun searching the code by means of computer, and only since the publishing of Michael Drosnin's book, The Bible Code, 1997, that many of us have heard of its existence. Still today, the majority of people have never heard of it. With an ELS, there may be a 3-letter skip where every 3rd letter is part of the code. If the skip is 100 letters, every 100th letter is counted. In a 100-skip code, each line has 100 letters in it. The matrix is found at the location of the key word. The grid can then be searched for the presence of other words and phrases, like a word search puzzle. Some rabbis, scholars, and scientists investigating the codes believe that the Bible, Torah, Tanakh, is encoded with every event, past, present, and future. Thus it would also encode every person's name along with his or her history, the book of life. The assassination of Yitzhak Rabin was discovered in the code long before it happened, but it could not be prevented. Many books have been written about the Bible code, and more are hitting the shelves each day. With all of these books, the phenomenon should be well understood, but instead it is becoming more of a blur for the average person. There are many misconceptions concerning the Bible code, and some of the proponents of the code are just as damaging to its validity as the antagonists are. The Yod of God, returning his name and covering his remnant. My face will I turn also from them, and they shall pollute my secret place. Sedeh Wa Nun Yod equals code. And shall enter into it, robbers, and defile it. Ezekiel 7:22. In plain English, this verse says, I will also turn my face away from them, and they shall pollute my secret place, and robbers shall enter into it and defile it. This verse can be read 2 other ways. 1, my face will I turn also from them, and they shall break my code, and with lattice violent men break it. 2, my face will I turn also from them, and they shall break my code, and explain with it. Violent men break it. Ezekiel 7:22. Those who are misusing the code are the robbers, defiling it. They have broken or opened the codes with lattice. This is exactly how the codes work. The Bible code grid or matrix is a lattice work of letters, interwoven with hidden messages. They break my code and explain with it. Who? Violent men. They use the code to explain, but are mostly erroneous, because God has turned his face from them. Scripture says the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. Matthew 11:12. Does this refer to robbers trying to violently force their way into the kingdom? If the violent are the robbers, they are defiling the code. The Bible is the code. The word Bible simply means book. Our English word Bible comes from the Latin biblia and the Greek and Phoenician biblos, meaning book. The Hebrew word for book or scroll, samek, peresh, sefer, also means to count or number, and to tell, which is what the code does. These same three Hebrew letters can be pronounced cipher. In English, a cipher is a secret code written in letters or characters that must be deciphered into intelligible terms by use of a key. Ancient rabbis found codes in the scriptures. Their key was in equidistant letter sequences. Current researchers use the computer to unlock ELS codes. The use of computer programs help researchers to discover the number skip sequences, or ELS, at which God has encoded and sealed the cipher of His message for His people to unravel and decode in the last days, the time of the end, when knowledge will be multiplied. Daniel 12:4. The Yod of God, returning His name, recovering His remnant. Tree of Life plan. In Genesis 2:9, the 9 Hebrew letters, Beth, Ta, Wa, Kaf, He, Gimel, Nun, Wa, Ayin, located between the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, in the midst or middle of the garden. When read in reverse, Ayin, Wa, Nun, Gimel, He, Kaf, Wa, Ta, Beth, translate into English as the light of the scribe. In unpointed script, the same 2 letters that spell tree, Ayin Sedeh, also spell plan. The tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil may be one same tree in the middle of the garden. The tree is symbolic of the plan of God, and as such represents the Word of God, the living Word, the delight, enjoyment of the scribe. The tree, plan, Word of God encodes His secrets and reveals them to His scribes. Symmetrical codes. When I first began working with Bible codes in 1997, I did everything by hand, counting out the Hebrew letters like the scribes of old, and recording them on graph paper, then deciphering the grids like word puzzles. Everywhere I looked, it said my symmetry. This told me immediately that God placed a great significance on symmetry in the codes. He has always used symmetry in the scriptures, in many overt references, so it should be no surprise that He would use symmetry in the hidden codes as well. There are an endless number of significant codes that are asymmetrical, but the symmetrical codes are especially meaningful, adding another level of complexity to the already complex system of cryptological ciphers. The codes virtually reveal encrypted details of every important event in human history. Among these records are the detailed events of September 11, 2001, when the World Trade Center buildings were destroyed. Future catastrophic events that may completely destroy New York City are also detailed in the code. The possible ramifications of such events are outlined here, along with documentation of scientists that tell the same story. Doomsday New York. Warnings of destruction. Since the early 1980s, I have been using my paintings and writings to sound the warning that New York is the end-time Babylon to be destroyed by God, as prophesied in the Bible's Book of Revelation or the Apocalypse. In 1999, I wrote a chapter for Mustang Publishing concerning the mother of harlots in Wonders to Behold, the visionary art of Murdoch West. A few excerpts follow. Revelation 17:18 identifies as that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Many biblical scholars see within the harlot a dual prophecy concerning both political and religious fulfillments. In the prophetic fulfillment of political or secular Babylon, New York, the original capital of the United States, is the great city. The United Nations is headquartered in New York City. The Greek New Testament rendering for reigneth over is Basilion Epi, meaning kingdom superimposed. The harlot is the great city having a kingdom superimposed on the kings of the earth. The troops and policies of the United States and the United Nations are superimposed on virtually all the nations and kings of the world. Thus New York, representing the United States, is that great city which reigneth over the kingdoms of the earth. The judgment of the mother of harlots may be the destruction of New York and possibly the United States. A reference to the waters where the whore sitteth, which are the peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues, Revelation 17:15. Nations is rendered here from the Greek ethnos, ethnic groups, and tongues are languages. The English language is a conglomeration of many world languages. Thus the United States of America is Mystery Babylon, the great harlot. Tyrus, Ezekiel 27:3-4, and Babylon, Jeremiah 51:13. and Revelation 17 are both described as being a great merchant seaport that is represented by a woman situated at the entry of the sea. Statue of Liberty. When the U.S. Babylon is destroyed as prophesied, the kings of the earth shall bewail her, since they will no longer receive gifts, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn, Revelation 18:9-11, because they have lost the outlet for their merchandise. Wonders to behold, the visionary art of Norbert West. Excerpts from chapter 10, Mother of Harlots, by Norbert H. The Revelation description of Babylon perfectly fits New York as the great import city of the world that will be destroyed in the last days. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she hath said in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is Yahweh God who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her, and lament her, for they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off, for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver, and precious stones, and of pearls, and fine linen, and purple, and silk, and scarlet, and all fine wood, and all manner of vessels of ivory, and all manner of vessels of most precious wood, and brass, and iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster, and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by the sea, stood far off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads, and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea, by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers, and musicians, and pipers, and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. And no craftsman, of whatsoever craft he be, shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Revelation 18:7-23. When the World Trade Center buildings were disintegrated on September 11, 2001, it definitely looked like the beginning of the end. As I watched the television screen with horror, my eyes drifted over a few inches to a picture I had painted of the towers being destroyed. As my eyes danced back and forth between the television and the painting, a nausea erupted in the pit of my stomach. Following is a portion of a letter I wrote 2 weeks later, explaining the prophetic episode. The trade tower piece shown here is something I completed in Bimini, January 28, 2001, 8 months before the 9/11 disaster. The title is This Dry Root. The theme is, as this root is plucked from the ground, so shall your heart be plucked from the midst of you. The morning of 9/11/01, when I turned on the TV and saw the smoke rising from Manhattan, I almost fell over. Her heart was plucked from the midst of her. Portion of a letter to Art Visionary, 13102. When I had received the inspiration for this painting in December of 2000, there was a certain horror that overcame me as I looked at the picture of the towers. I trembled. There was a knowledge that the towers would fall. I did not know how it would happen, but I knew without a doubt that the heart of Babylon was about to be plucked violently from her midst. 9 months later, the towers went down. This dry root was not exhibited publicly. but was viewed in the studio on several occasions between December 2000 through January 2001 by the crew and passengers of Blackbeard cruises on their frequent visits to the island of Bimini. I had previously sent out the warning in 1998 with my Apocalypse to Eternity 4-panel installation painting, 14 feet high and 60 feet wide, at the South Bend, Indiana Regional Art Museum, Walls Talk, November 1998. The same piece was abbreviated to 9 feet high by 30 feet wide and displayed at the End is Near exhibit in New York in 1999. This abbreviated form was exhibited also at the Las Vegas Art Museum in 1999. In 2000, it was shown at the Dean Jensen Gallery, Milwaukee. It was exhibited for the 5th time in 2000 and 2001 in a special exhibit titled The End is a New Beginning at Lehigh University, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. When the piece first showed in 1998, it scared me. I could see fire coming down on New York. I wanted to believe it was symbolic, but had an awful feeling that it was all too real. It was awesome and frightening to know. As I stood there during the opening, I wanted to cry aloud and sound the alarm. Get out of New York. But the inner voice said, keep silent, let the painting speak. He who has ears will hear. In 1999, my painting titled Bimini, 4 feet by 18 feet, attracted the rage of the Catholic League of New York. More than 40 Green Bay members marched the picket lines in front of the Neville Public Museum during my 3-month exhibit to hell and back. Several images offended them. They failed to look beneath the surface and completely missed the message. The Bimini painting is inundated with Bible codes. These codes are for the viewer, especially the Hebrew-speaking viewer, since the codes are written in Hebrew. In this painting, the main code matrix issues a warning to the United States, which refers to the 2 towers falling and burning as a furnace. I didn't realize the towers referred to were the trade towers until after September 11, but I did know that it involved New York. In the 1999 book, Wonders to Behold, The Visionary Art of Murtis West, I wrote the chapter, Mother of Harlots, pages 114 through 120, issuing the warning to New York and the United States loud and clear. My 1996 painting, Mother of Harlots, the Pied Piper, page 120, shows the Trade Center buildings exploding and burning. The beast with 10 horns hates the woman, the great city, and burns her with fire, Revelation 17, 16 through 18. In the painting, the claws of the great beast are seen piercing and exploding the towers at the point where the 9/11 terrorist planes would eventually initiate their destruction. Did I have a special vision? No. I studied the Bible, deciphered the code, and painted intuitively. Since 1984 and earlier, I have sounded the warnings in my writings, and since 1989 in my paintings. But in 1998 it became more urgent, unavoidable, and undeniable. I wish I could believe that the fulfillment of the prophecies were satisfied on September 11, 2001, but I am afraid that they were not. There is more to come. The prophecies of the book of Revelation, the Apocalypse, clearly fit the scene of 9/11. Then doesn't it make sense to expect the rest of the prophecies to follow? If so, we can expect suffering such as this earth has never before seen, and we will be right in the midst of it. I will put together a list of scriptures and codes that will show you without a doubt that what I have said is true, and that these are not my words, but ancient prophecies written before they happened. The end of time, proclaimed from the beginning. Portions of a letter to Art Visionary, 13102. 9/11 attack foreseen. Ezekiel prophesied, the watchman, and he prophesied the inevitable end that is to come upon the United States, as well as the destruction of the World Trade Center towers that took place September 11, 2001. The United States is cryptically referred to by Ezekiel, abbreviated Aleph Resh He Beth. The United States appears in a 3-skip ELS in Ezekiel 7:5. It is spelled out by the first letters of each Hebrew word in the phrase, and only evil, behold, is come. Aleph Heth Tah, Resh Ayin He, He Nun He, Beit Aleph He. Plain text Hebrew reads from right to left. There it is, Aleph Resh He Beth, the United States, Manasseh, Israel. Also thou son of man, thus saith Yahweh, unto the land of Israel, an end, the end is come upon the 4 corners of the land. Now is the end come upon thee, and I will extend mine anger upon thee, and will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense upon thee all thine abominations. And mine eye shall not spare thee, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense thy ways upon thee, and thine abominations shall be in the midst of thee, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh, and evil, and only evil, behold, is come. Aleph Resh He Beth equals USA, 3 skip. And end is come, the end is come. It watcheth for thee, behold, it is come. The cycle of time, circling, is come unto thee, O thou that dwellest in the land. The time is come, the day of trouble is near, and not the sounding again of the mountains. Now will I shortly pour out my fury upon thee, and accomplish mine anger upon thee, and I will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense thee for all thine abominations. And mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. I will recompense thee according to thy ways, and thine abominations that are in the midst of thee. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh that strikes. Ezekiel 7, 2-9.